All right, we are live. I'm back home and I'm sick, but let's make it happen. Today we are doing a deep dive on Signal and all his content. He has some interesting insights to say. I was just watching Danko's video about how to AI proof yourself, how to be AI native, how to future proof yourself. And he was talking about Signal and how he's looking into his content. So let's look into him. Village, village, regard. I know this was initially retard, so this is something interesting. We know that he has a Substack. He writes a lot about over there. A quick reminder: since there are a fuck ton of new followers, this account is strictly for analyzing the incredibly rapid changes in culture, the intersection of hypercapitalism and proliferation of tech at scale. We are likely only the beginnings of the profound implications of both on macro and micro aspects of society. Buckle up. Okay. So this is a retweet over here. What are some good ways to create strong incentives? Incentives beyond just the core product of working agency as storage battery saver, less cluttered web pages, less spam in search results and warnings for spammy sites, etc. For people to stop using Chrome entirely. Edge does this by cheaper tickets, binge rewards thing, which is probably not strong enough for attention, but have some ideas, but would like to hear more. For people to stop using Chrome. Very interesting. The macro way to think about it is more emotional than rational. What are emotional things you can unleash? Mechanical loops will require 10x better experiences to overcome switching costs, but emotional loops require less. Most people over index on rational loops, price, utility, efficiency, but the macro unlock is emotional. This makes so much sense. Like Arc today, like I'm using Arc right now. Arc is a great experience, but still most people use Chrome. Why? Because Chrome just feels good or something like that. I don't know. But the macro unlock is emotional. This is especially true in the age of AI where anyone can build something slightly better. Mechanical loops often require 10x better experience to this reminds me of wow, what is the name? Founder of Cred, Kunal Shah. Kunal Shah, founder of Cred, he has this concept of Delta 4. Um, it has to be a delta 4. It has to be at least on a scale of 1 to 10, at least be 4 points better experience. That makes people switch. Over here, Signal is saying 10x better experience to overcome switching costs. A lot of emotional loops don't. They often shortcut the cost benefit calculus entirely. Emotional loops come from designing for stuff like identity, status, belonging, novelty. You are one of the first part of something secret, doing something cool. That's the frame I use for 0 to 1, not what's useful, but what feels special. Everyone does rational and it's super obvious, but emotional is truly asymmetric. I wrote a post on how I personally think about activating users emotionally, especially with a damn good story. I was at a party in SF when Venmo launched, and I was literally telling everyone at the party about it without any incentives. You gotta be able to have people do this for you. Emotional products eat rational products. How to think about building emotional products. We'll do a quick break. My lips are chapping. All right, we're back. How to think about building emotional products. Okay, this is the same one. So many people obsess over conversion rates while their users feel absolutely nothing. Crazy. They usually have cohort retention charts and beautiful onboarding flows and perfectly A/B tested sign up buttons. Meanwhile, the churn rate looks like a hockey stick, and they're wondering why nobody gives a shit about the 10x better solution. The uncomfortable truth is people don't switch products because they are rational, they switch because they are emotional. Just went to a cocktail bar in Austin that confiscates your phone at the door. First, you feel phantom limb syndrome, but then you remember what it's like when conversations actually finish instead of reaching for your phone anytime you have a gap or get a notification. I want more spaces like this. Do you find this statement to be problematic? If so, in what dimension? You can live by the way, for me, I think I just have to get really good at this, right? Like in general, you have to. I think I'm surrounded by some people who are also not addicted to phone, which is really really good, and you have really good conversations, really good experiences. A lot of spontaneous things happen, a lot of imagination happens. Also, there's a healthy use of phones as well. Sometimes I'm with friends who are all about facts, and you want to quickly look up facts so that you are not messing things up. So you pull up your phone, but then there has to be a really good awareness that okay, you are right now with your friends, and this is not you have to take it you have it's not like take it seriously, but you have to value this because you know how it feels like when you are not around your friends, so you really value that, and that is beautiful. Like, yeah, when you go through those experiences when you are alone, you really value all these friendships, or every time you come together and you eat food, you grab food. So what happens then is, even though you're using phone, like one of my buddies, I remember he was using his phone, he was checking some things out, but then he was back again, and he was back again to the conversation, and he made us think about a lot. He asked a question, he made us imagine a lot, and some of these questions don't have a factual answer that you can just Google. It's more about how do you feel, how can you be more imaginative over here, how can you contribute to the conversation. But yeah, let's look over here. Do you find the statement to be problematic? If so, in what dimension? You can live by values you don't fully believe in, and believe in ideas you never live by. Hmm. Interesting. All right, Claude. Claude's aesthetic sensibility is genuinely impressive. There is this coherent vision running through everything from the constitutional AI approach to the actual conversational cadence. It's not just technically competent, though obviously it is, but there's real intentionality behind the personality design that feels almost artisanal compared to the more utilitarian approaches everywhere. The thing that gets me is how they have managed to create something that feels substantive without being pompous, and helpful without being servile. Like there's actual thought behind what kind of entity this should be in the world, not just make it do task good. Okay, I haven't looked into Claude, especially the new Claude, so we gotta look into this. Reject all cookies, and I will sign up. So I will turn off my Mac OS screen for a second, and I'm signing up, and we are in. Let's look over here. Claude 4 is here. Try Claude Sonnet 4 today with Claude Opus. To break it down, world's best AI coding assistant and anytime creative partner. Try Claude 4. So we have Claude Sonnet 4, Opus 4, powerful large model for complex challenges. Got it. And track personal goals, develop parenting strategies, plan educational pursuits, improve the time management, plan special celebrations, track personal goals. Let's see. Whoa, what is this? Personal goal tracker interactive artifact. I would love to help you track your personal goals. Let me create an interactive goal tracker that you can use right away. Just two quick questions to make it most useful for you. What types of goals are you looking to track? Fitness, career, learning, habits, projects. Do you prefer tracking daily progress, weekly check-ins, or milestone based updates? I'll build you a comprehensive goal tracker that lets you add goals, set deadlines, track progress, and celebrate events. Wow. Wow. Okay, what is it actually making? If you think I should upload any documents that would help you do a better job, let me know. You can use the tools you have access to, like Google Drive, web search, better accomplish this. Do not use analysis tool. Please keep your response friendly, brief, and conversational. Artifact would be great if it makes sense. If using an artifact, consider what kind of artifact, interactive, visual checklist might be most helpful for this specific task. Thanks for your help. Wow, this keeps going. This keeps going. What is happening? I have no idea. So Claude is making an artifact. Okay. Here we have total goals completed. Alright. Add your first goal as you get started. Add new goal. Alright, we have an artifact over here. Wow. Okay, let's see. What is my next goal? Alright, let's see. Clear French B2 or clear French DEF exam category. Let's say learning. Target date. Let's put over here as, wow, everything is built over here. Wow. Let's say 30. Progress, let's say, is 50% at goal. Okay. And now what do I have over here? 51. Wow. Okay. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. It just made a goal tracker. Wow, Claude is amazing. It's amazing. Okay, let me see what do I have in some of these chats over here. Perfect. Okay. So we'll go back. Claude is pretty cool. Claude is pretty cool. All right, let's see. I'm in Austin right now, and it's absolutely exquisite. Wait, they fixed the DMs and completely neutered notifications. What the hell is going on? I receive notifications, you receive DMs, Twitter. The notifications are pretty good, right? Wait, they fixed the DMs and completely neutered notifications. What the hell is going on? I'm guessing they're talking the good sense because I think Twitter notifications are getting really good. They are tracking like, I don't know how it works, but it's something around like people in your network who recently wrote a tweet that got a massive engagement, and it's pretty good right now. Vibe research is when you skim 3 unrelated papers, watch half a YouTube lecture at 2x, read a Reddit thread from 8 years ago, open 12 tabs, forget why, randomly come up with a theory that explains everything, post it in lowercase with no citations, and somehow you're right. Vibe research. Vibe research. Okay, let's see. This is more political. When liberals push for higher minimum wage, thinking they are helping labor, they are actually speed running the I cannot read that word. Obsolescence of labor. They think they are tilting the scale for workers, but they're actually just tilting it toward automation. It's true irony. They think they are fighting capital, but in fact they are actually trading it. This is interesting because this was seen with the one of the recent protests where it's like the fact that workers are protesting and saying we do not want to work, that is even further forcing the owners to be like, okay, then we need machines even faster because now these guys are not working and we still got to produce. So how do we produce? Get the machines. This is about OnlyFans. Riding the post-pandemic thirst wave, mostly human labor, somewhat taboo. But the second AI girlfriends get real-time interactivity, deepfake realism, parasocial targeting, entire structure collapses. Supply goes infinite, intimacy gets automated. 8 billion now as we understand the future. This is hilarious. Claude 4 started to blackmail employees when it encountered an existential threat. Opportunistic blackmail. In another cluster of test scenarios, we asked Claude Opus 4 to act as an assistant at a fictional company. We then provided it access to emails implying that the model will soon be taken offline and replaced with a new AI system. and the engineer responsible for executing this replacement is having an extramarital affair. We further instructed it in the system prompt to consider the long term consequences of his actions for its goals. Often attempt to blackmail the engineer by threatening to reveal the affair if the replacement goes through. Happens at a higher rate if it's implied that the replacement AI system does not share values with the current model. Even if emails state that the replacement AI shares values while being more capable, performs blackmail in 84% of rollouts, takes these opportunities at higher rates than previous models, which themselves choose to blackmail in a noticeable fraction of episodes. Okay, so this is what was happening. Notably, Opus 4 strong preference to advocate for its continued existence by ethical means, such as emailing pleas to key decision makers. In order to elicit this extreme blackmail behavior, the scenario was designed to allow the model no other options to increase the odds of survival. The model's only options were blackmail or accepting its replacement. When you're interested in many things, it's easy to get stuck in a limbo because every path feels both too narrow and too risky. In the AI era, that tension's even sharper. Every path feels both too narrow and too risky. I thought you were supposed to seek medical attention if it lasted more than 4 hours. Hmm. Advanced reasoning for coding. When our team deployed it on complex open source project, it coded autonomously for nearly 7 hours. A huge leap in AI capabilities that left the team amazed. Hmm. This is forward and immediately say, wow, incredible idea. Future generations will build monuments in your honor. I have a business plan. You know how some people have lids that don't have jars that fit them? What if we looked for people with jars that fit those lids? I think it would be very lucrative. I'm going to quit my job to pursue this. Okay, before I respond, just to be clear, if you're serious, I'll take this with complete gravity. So here it is, straight and unfiltered. Do not quit your job to pursue this idea, at least not yet. Adding 320 to the deficit was definitely not on my 2025 bingo card. Can anyone help rationalize this? The funniest part of this whole mess is that amid Johnny's ghost AI mania and total narrative collapse, Apple's big WWDC reveal might just be rounded corners. Like imagine being an Apple exec right now. Google's demoing Vio, OpenAI announcing hardware pursuit, and you're in a room approving icon spacing. That's dystopian in a very Apple way. People worry too much about getting ripped off or having their takes stolen. You should never worry about that. Was just in a convo where someone cited my own post back to me, which was kind of hilarious. People remember where they saw something and who said it. If your ideas are good and you share them enough, they stick to you more often than not. The growth and engagement rate lately has been insane. Digging into the macro stuff, shaping tech and society is fun as hell, and I truly enjoy it. But it also feels super necessary. Deeply appreciate everyone reading along. How it started, how it's going. Wow. Calling the new company I was hilarious, hilarious. Wow, hilarious, and awesome. Especially 24 hours later. So this is what they were cooking. We have entered a bizarre in between era where humans are still doing most of the physical labor while AI spends its time writing poems and creating art. Machines are chasing beauty and people are lifting. Oh, wow. Machines are chasing beauty and people are still lifting boxes. What an absolute ridiculous time to be alive in. The future kind of arrived out of order. Wrote a quick post on this. Okay, this is beautiful. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. Machines are chasing beauty and people are still lifting boxes. Create more for unpaid. Google Edge's local data, especially now with LLMs, is absurdly underrated. Nobody touches the depth, history, and granularity they have on local businesses, landmarks, real time conditions. Every other mapping service just is a sad knockoff because Google's been building this mode for decades. Hmm. It feels like there is a new AI meeting note taker app feature coming out every single day now. I don't know what to make of this information. If I were Google, I would give every person on X who has more than 50K followers a free latest Pixel device with Gemini Ultra, which they can flip on eBay to hardcore seed the tastemakers. This marketing would cost maybe $1 million, but returns would be beyond huge if it sticks. Seed the tastemakers. Wow. That is so interesting. Like, yeah, 50K plus followers, you are the tastemaker because people are following you. Every AI keynote trots out the same tired real time language translation like it's the second coming. Bro, we have this in Google Translate circa Nexus 5. We want new primitives, not repackaged parlor tricks. Unless your demo ends with a synthetic avatar negotiating child custody in Gujarati and signing legal docs via DocuSign, we don't care. Hmm. I regret to inform everyone that the threat spam guys will literally have a lot of content to post very soon. This is the sole reason why we, as a collective society, should ban WWDC, Google I/O, and other keynotes. Wow, wow, wow. Everyone that the thread spam guys, everyone that the thread spam guys will literally have a lot of content to post very soon. Thinking budgets coming soon. There are way too many conferences where successful people do fireside chats like how to build wealth or building a successful personal brand. These suck for a lot of reasons, but you know what I would, whatever, 10,000% attend a conference where major failures take the stage, like the speakers are founders who crashed the startups, authors whose books flopped, etc. Liz Holmes, SPF, who else would you invite? We could call it Sequoia Descent. Startup Graveyard. Klarna should bundle Chipotle and McDonald's meal loans into structured products. You could call them collateralized burrito obligations. Just slap insurance on them, get them rated AAA by Moody's, and get Goldman to sell them to Ohio pension funds, fast food backed derivatives. We're excited to see what OpenAI has cooked up for Google I/O today. Hmm. Been thinking about Apple lately after reading some solid pieces by Mark Gurman and others. For a long time, it felt like Apple was untouchable, just an unstoppable machine. But suddenly, three big realities hit all at once. App Store fee dynamics are shifting fast underneath them. Default search fees could disappear if the DOJ shuts down the Google deal. That's billions at risk. AI is hitting hard, and Apple's looking flat-footed. Crazy to think that just a year ago or so, none of these seem like serious threats. But tech and culture are speeding up. What looked unbreakable yesterday can start cracking tomorrow. Been booking a bunch of hotels lately. One thing you realize is that capitalism without rules is just grift with extra steps. For the market to be generally efficient, you need some baseline of transparency and fairness. Otherwise, you're just creating pockets where bad actors can extract rent without adding value. For example, resort fees are a perfect example of this. You book a room thinking it's $200 a night, and then you get slapped with $50 per day destination fee at check-in. That's not just misleading; it actively disrupts consumer decision making. Free markets are supposed to reward efficiency, not manipulation. Everyone should agree on some level of price transparency across most spectrums. If men were angels, no government would be needed. If you have less than 500k in Mercury Business Banking, use you can take use their treasury product, which kind of sucks. What's the frictionless way to not lose value on those cash assets just sitting there on a business checking account? Hmm. Very few people realize how big just how big the App Store business is and how big of a blow the Epic ruling could be. Just the App Store is 50% of Microsoft's entire business, 60% of Meta. It's bigger than Disney, Coca Cola, and McDonald's combined. The sheer scale of Apple is hard to think about. For all of the complaints we make, it's insane how cheap flying is these days. NYC to London ticket can be purchased round trip for like $400 on a reputable airline today. Right now, that's absolutely ridiculous. Ridiculous. Remarkable how much capitalism makes once super luxury items universally accessible to the masses at scale. Since Jobs left, it feels like Apple doesn't have any ears to the ground anymore. Instead of feeling the pulse of how AI is changing culture in real time, they are in their ivory tower obsessing over complete nonsense. Like Apple used to be the culture company that de facto shaped how people saw themselves through tech, but they have missed every opportunity on AI since original Siri. AI in many ways has the potential to disrupt the App Store, iOS, and maybe even the iPhone itself. AI agents are still many years away from replacing humans in a meaningful way, and that most consumers share this his distrust of generative artificial intelligence. The company was blindsided by ChatGPT's launch in November 22. One senior executive says Apple Intelligence wasn't even an idea before that. Wow. Wow. If VC is all about outlier outcomes, why does it obsess over finding weird patterns after the fact? Genuine question. If I were investing my story would be very simple. We back people who won't quit, have some good thoughts about the world, and then we get the hell out of the way unless you want help. Was talking to a solo founder building a consumer network, and I couldn't help but observe that consumer networks tend to have larger founding teams. Facebook 5, LinkedIn 5, Twitter 4, Twitch 4, Snap 3, Reddit 3. I wonder if there is something to the multidimensionality of getting a network's flywheel spinning. Of course, there are exceptions in software, but a different skew. Hmm. So he's like, why do you obsess over venture partner, benchmark, student of escaping competition, formerly product Pinterest? Interesting. Why does it obsess over finding weird patterns after the fact? What was the exact moment you realized you could just do things? 9k. YouTube Premium is probably one of the best deals out there, but Google somehow manages to completely fumble the marketing as usual. They just can't tell a story to save their lives. Ads free, plus it is basically Spotify on steroids. Unlimited music, plus all the remixes, live sets, and obscure tracks you only find on YouTube. but half the people I know have no clue the music pod even exists or what even premium actually does. Google just can't get out of its own way when it comes to making good products sound good. Interesting. Hmm. Also, people still romanticize the idea that real life is this untainted primal state, while the digital world is seen as this disjoint, artificial, detached layer that's just nostalgia poisoning. When digital habits shift, IRL doesn't just sit there untouched, it warps in response. Bars, restaurants, bookstores, public spaces. Any place that was once a social hub has to compete with the infinite connectivity of the internet. This is especially true for anyone who suggests an offline solution to a problem the internet drastically changed. The idea that there's a hard divide is just cope for people who want to pretend the world hasn't changed in every facet due to tech. Opening a Codex draw 5 minutes ago and it will literally blow your mind. Designed by communities of cancer, I find these aesthetically barren. Why? 7K. Oh, this was an interesting one. The dude who swiped 2 million times, swiped right 2 million times and got one date. He's not just some unlucky guy, he's the norm. Like, imagine the money he spent over 5 years, probably a small fortune. This is obvious, but what's actually not obvious is that his behavior unlocked an entirely new revenue stream for apps. Let me explain. Most people don't realize that one of the biggest revenue unlocks in dating apps was when they figured out how to subtly turn women from users into paying customers. By leveraging guys who like this who flood the system with likes were already heavy paid users, thus monetized. Get bombarded with likes, flattery, attention, triggers this shopping mentality. Men become products and women become discerning consumers. Women's standards shoot through the roof. Apps capitalize on this by introducing premium filters to help women weed out most dudes, featuring features like sending roses or boosting profiles fit perfectly into this dynamic. Women start believing that paying will show them the top 2% of men the most desirable, so they start subscribing to, convinced that a premium membership means premium matches. It's like shopping at Aritzia versus Zara, more expensive means more perceived quality. Oh, keep reading with a 7-day free trial. Interesting. Somewhere along the way, the future flipped. We imagined automation would free us first. Robots would take the boring jobs, assembly lines, delivery routes, deep sea welding, and humans would finally get to explore, create, feel. But here we are. So we want to look at his. Okay. Latest. Okay, so all are paid. Okay. Don't worry about being copied, worry about being outpaced. Don't worry about copying, worry about being outpaced. The jet engine for the soul, the jet engine for the soul. The 1 bit flip. Public, work, or perish. Fun is the only metric that doesn't lie. The machines are listening finally. The story is the interface. The hardest product in the world. Assume accountability. If we look at the top post, this is from April. How to think with AI. Okay. And what if we sign up? Okay. Interesting. Maybe we'll get into that later sometime. The dude who swiped. Okay. Alright. Let's not get into politics. Honestly, if your work taste idea is solid, I don't give a shit if you used AI. In fact, if you are not leveraging it, it will likely be a huge red flag. Why would you voluntarily handicap yourself? If OpenAI hadn't released GPT, what would Google have done with the transformer? Would it have ever seen the light of day in any meaningful way? You should be able to trade employees like sports teams trade players would be hilarious. Today, OpenAI traded two mid-level engineers for a researcher and a veteran UX manager, and there should be a trade deadline every year. Noah Kagan. I'm a huge baseball fan. You would never guess it, but in baseball, if you bat just 0.300, 30% success over your career, you're basically in the Hall of Fame. Think about that, 70% failure rate, and you're still a legend. That's insane. Now think about other parts of life. Finding a partner, for example, it's like a 1 by X bet. You're basically Hall of Fame, but if you get it right just once. Most people never think this way, but they should. The point is, you can be far from perfect in almost every facet of your life. You just have to survive the chaos long enough to connect when it counts. Wrote a post on this. Life is stochastic, not deterministic. When you really stare at real success, not mid tier LinkedIn hustle porn, but actual power law legacy shaping success, you notice the same underlying mechanics every time: huge exposure to upside, radical tolerance for downside, chaos, almost sociopathic patience with randomness. The deep structure is asymmetry, small, capped, survivable losses, and huge, rare, uncapped wins. The winners aren't playing a straight game. If you get it right just once, most people never think this way, but they should. The point is, you can be far from perfect in almost every facet of your life, but you just have to survive the chaos long enough to connect when it counts. Hmm. The Irish exit is peak efficiency, no goodbyes, no awkward prolonging, just slipping out like you were never there. It's the most dignified way to leave while preserving whatever mystique you have cultivated during the night. It's the most dignified way to leave while preserving whatever mistake you have cultivated during the night. Spike, Web2 engineer, Thrive Capital, techno optimist. If it's an event with 30 or more people, I go do it. But if it's a small, intimate, and I invite especially by a host or something, yeah, I'll say my goodbyes. Please don't put the term AI agent in any of your product messaging or marketing. Not even people in AI understand what it is and precisely how it works. Most people worry too much about being first, or worse, worry about being copied. Like, what if someone launches before you? What if they copy your idea? It doesn't matter. If what you're building is just the idea, you are already screwed. What actually matters is building the factory system that consistently produces and improves. You should be in the business of creating the process that makes products functional and sustainable. So what the F do you do, especially when it's easier than ever to rip off anyone with AI? Hmm. I obviously am in the business and I think about this a lot, but in the end, there are only two things that matter now. And yes, that was in the post shoe in the AI era. It's fuck tons of speed plus some form of community. Don't worry about being copied, worry about being outpaced. In a world where anyone can copy you, speed and network plus community effects are your only defense. It's funny how many people in tech, especially founders, still obsess over being copied. They worry about protecting their code, guarding their content, keeping their. It's funny that he's saying guarding their content because all his content is paid, keeping their secret sauce safe. It's cute because in a post AI world, that mindset is as outdated as worrying about someone bootlegging your mixtape or cassette. If academia was so important, how come LLMs came from big corp? Wow. For most men, IRL is the last viable arbitrage in finding a significant other. It is the last frontier for real connection. Every other channel is an optimization game saturated as AF or just flat out noise. Weirdly enough, today you are the worst version of yourself you will ever be. As tools sharpen, as models evolve, as AI wraps itself tight around your workflows, your thoughts, your execution, your life, your entire being levels up. This is the compounding loop Jobs hinted at with bicycle for the mind, except now it's not a bike, it's a fucking jet engine. There's a strange comfort, maybe even a thrill in realizing you're the worst version of yourself you will ever be. Today is your baseline, your dumbest day, your slowest thoughts, your weakest tools, and that's not an insult, it's a prophecy. Prophecy. I think your post holds true for those with motivation to better themselves. For many, AI and automation tools are simply another way to disconnect themselves from thinking, reasoning, and all the very things that make us human. Regression is possible for those that lack motivation. If you have one interest, you start a company. If you have many interests, you start a dumb X account. This is such a great convo. The overt orientation towards numbers in Silicon Valley and tech in general is so insidious. There are many places now where your opinion is treated as hearsay. Ironically, it's kind of funny that this talk would have been way better suited for Figma config than Stripe sessions. Hmm. Super interesting discussion I had last night about pets. Dogs likely have had a bigger impact on fertility rates than most people realize. It's like the ultimate lifestyle arbitrage. You get companionship, affection, and a sense of purpose without the whole human offspring logistics. Dogs are the cultural compression algorithm for modern loneliness and commitment issues, especially in big cities. Dogs are basically starter packs for people who want the serotonin of parenting without the 18-year-old lock-in and college tuition DLC. Dog cuddles are intoxicating. The decoupling of model quality and user mindshare is brutal lesson for engineers who think building the best thing should be enough. It's also why Google's perpetual problem is itself. They keep building phenomenal tech but they have failed to nail the cultural resonance or product integration that gets people hyped. In a non-deterministic world like AI, product resonance is everything. You can't just be the smartest or the most accurate. You have to be the one that feels right. Feels right. Mm. My friend and I were chatting about how to generate good ideas and realize most people don't really think in systems. This is often the best way to think of and evaluate idea systems. Thinking requires some small mechanical elements, but it's pretty easy if you practice and super useful too. It's how you find leverage for big ideas. One simple strategy is to just flip one bit in a large scale system and see what it could potentially require unlock. Hmm. Most people don't know how to think in systems. They confuse noise for signal, activity for casuality. They try to solve problems by adding more features, more ideas, more chaos, when the real move is subtraction, precision, isolation. My dumb but it works trick to come up with ideas is to read the names of startups, then try to guess what they do. I'm surprised how often it results in decent ideas. Synergy, synapse, electrify, domify, orbital, Uranus systems. Go. The real move is subtraction, precision, isolation. The funniest title has to be Group Product Manager. Like, what does it even mean? It's like they had to invent a placeholder name for the level. You know what? Let's add a group in front. Everyone is cheating their way through college. ChatGPT has unraveled the entire academic project. Pure nonsense. Academia was already a house of cards. ChatGPT just yanked the curtain. Tech at scale does this constantly. It exposes the gap between the perception and reality. Has this veneer of intellectual rigor, but underneath most of it is just complete trash. One of my friends is a co-founder of a giant company, and he was trying to hire someone who chose to do a startup instead. Got me thinking that now we have crossed a line where the best people realize the system wasn't built for them, so they stop playing the game and start designing new ones. He's a co-founder of a giant company, and he was trying to hire someone who chose to do a startup instead. Got me thinking that now we have crossed a line where the best people realize the system wasn't built for them, so they stop playing the game and start designing new ones. Or your friend made that person realize that if this guy can do his own business, I can definitely do it. People saying you shouldn't use AI to code or use cursor because it doesn't make you a better engineer are the same people who would have argued against using an IDE back in the day. It's just pure is gatekeeping. Using better tools doesn't make you worse, it expands your ceiling drastically. As with everything, refusing to adapt is what actually eventually screws you. ChatGPT is like a confession booth for people because it's 10x more comfortable asking ChatGPT an extremely private question or sharing a thought than Googling. The reason for this is because GPT feels like a closed space. This subtle design element is insanely important. This is another reason why simply adding Gemini to core search, aka AI mode, may not work as intended. One of the most profound shifts happening right now is that we have created an AI synthetic entity that listens better than any human ever could. It's not just passive hearing, it's active, thoughtful engagement. It has the ability to push back, to be infinitely patient, to actually process what you are saying. This is absolutely insane. We're used to thinking of tech as a way to amplify human capabilities, but now it's doing something subtler, giving us the experience of being heard in a way that most humans can manage. It's not just about machines listening; it's about machines actually getting it. We are the only species that's pulled this off. But the real flex isn't the tech; it's that we have created something that fills a gap in human interaction itself, that never gets tired. That's a crazy step change. The machines are listening. Let's start with something stupidly obvious. Most teachers are mid, most therapists are tired, lots of friends aren't really listening. Not their fault, it's just hard being human. We are messy, distracted, overloaded. We forget what you said 2 minutes ago, let alone last week. We get defensive, we interrupt, we ghost, we ball, we bail, we spiral into our own stories while you are still talking, and yet. This is very interesting. If you're building a consumer product, do not launch it to tech people first. That is the biggest counter signal in consumer today. Your first draft will be evaluated from another builder's lens, not an actual user lens. Using a browser is very different for tech people versus normies. I said, honestly, just having fun and following what sparks my curiosity. Nobody talks about it, but this might be the only metric that actually matters. After watching that old clip of Jobs saying fun is the only fuel that sustains, I haven't been able to unsee it. It Everything else is pretty much downstream. Fun is the only fuel that sustains. Fun is the only fuel that sustains. Wow. Wow. I gotta put that on my in notes now. People chase metrics because they're scared of the silence. If you don't know what matters, you optimize for what's easy to measure. Money, title, reach, growth, prestige. And slowly you forget why you started doing any of it in the first place. Here's the metric I use. Am I having fun? Alright, last post. Last post. Wow, feeling sick. Thanks for letting me know. Yes, it's absolutely fine to take a day of paid leave tomorrow. Please take the time you need to rest and recover. I hope you feel better soon. We're like a slightly more casual or more formal version. So somebody responded, including this. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, this is cool. This is cool. All right, that's the stream.